Joining me now is Democratic member of Congress from Maryland, Jamie Raskin, ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. It's good to see you, Congressman.
It's great to see you, Chris, and thank you for showing the complete context there. I'm happy to elaborate a little bit if you want me to.
Oh, of course. Listen, I've known you most of my adult life. There's no one I am less threatened by when it comes to who I think is in office who wants to subvert the Constitution than you. But what I want your comment on is not your plans to decertify the election, unless I have it completely wrong, but what it means to you that that is the target that's put on your back.
Look, you know, this is a time for constitutional patriotism where we have to, everybody can advance their party cause. That's part of the First Amendment. That's how democracy works. But we've got to be loyal and faithful to the Constitution itself. And that means we've got to respect the truthful, honest results of our elections. Now, the political scientists tell us that the sign of an authoritarian or a fascist political party is they don't accept the results of democratic elections that don't go their way. And they embrace or they refuse to disavow political violence as an instrument for obtaining political power. And they don't organize on a democratic basis, but they rather organize as a top-down authoritarian cult of personality around one charismatic or allegedly charismatic figure. And finally, the political scientists tell us they don't advance actual policy platforms and issues for the people to debate and discuss, but rather they engage in scapegoating, racism, anti-Semitism, gay bashing, immigrant bashing, Hispanic bashing, what have you. And so, you know, I'm just, obviously everybody's talking about Donald Trump's own Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman and his own chief of staff, John Kelly, describing him as a fascist to the core. I'm more concerned at this point about what's happening to his party under his leadership, because that was Lincoln's party. They used to believe in the Constitution. Liberty and union was the rhetoric of the old Republican Party. They were pro-immigrant. They understood we were a nation of immigrants. They were anti-slavery, anti-racist, and now look at the direction they've gone in with that horror show in Madison Square Garden the other night.
Is there any scenario in which Donald Trump wins the election, the secretaries of state and other officials pass up all of their calls for certification, and the Democrats move against him because they don't want him to be president?
No, if that is the honest, faithful account of the election, and the certificates of ascertainment arrive from the governors, and those are honest renditions, as they always have been, and there's a win in the Electoral College vote, then it will be certified. What happened in 2020 was Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by more than 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. 60 different federal and state courts rejected every claim of electoral fraud and corruption, including 8 judges who'd been named to the bench by Donald Trump himself, and yet they still claimed, and they claim to this day, that Donald Trump somehow won the election. And this is just magical thinking and paranoid conspiracy theory, and it's very scary that that's the organizing glue of the political party. There were people on the Republican side who denounced what happened on January 6th as a monstrosity, as terrorism, as an insurrection, and they all ended up walking it back as they began to kowtow and curry favor again with Donald Trump, who's taken over their party. Well, and the ones who won't accept it, like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney, they're gone now.
Look, he took over the party because he has the power. And if you go against him, he beats you in the primaries. Is it different in your party? Maybe in terms of style, but that, look, they're top-down organizations. But, Jamie, here's my question for you, Congressman. After this is over, do you think that there is any chance of one side working with the other when the kind of, you know, even your conclusion here is he's a despot in the making, and their closing is she's a commie who is a radical in democratic clothing, and she wants to destroy our culture and our values? Is anybody going to work with anyone, no matter who wins?
Well, let me start on your first point, Chris, which is well put. Is the Democratic Party any different. Well, look at what they're attacking us for. They're attacking us because Khamla Harris is the nominee, that we had Democratic dialogue and discussion. Donald Trump was so depressed he could barely leave his house for 3 weeks after that and denounced us for what he called a coup, a word I didn't think he even understood, but apparently he does. No, a coup was what he was trying to orchestrate on January 6th of 2021.
But they're coming after you because you didn't have a primary. Nobody voted for her. But you know what it is, Congressman. Nobody voted for her because of the circumstances.
On the contrary.
How so?
Chris, you know that's not true.
Tell me.
Kamala Harris got every single vote that Joe Biden did because they ran together as a ticket. And what's the role of the vice president? To take over when the president can't do his job or doesn't want to do his job.
Oh, I get the 25th
In other
Amendment.
words, everybody who voted for
was.
Joe Biden for president voted for Kamala Harris for vice president. I'm sorry?
Yes, you are right technically. What I'm saying
Isn't that
is,
what the vice president does? Explain that to me.
There's no question that
Technically,
you
I'm
are,
right. In other words,
you are
I'm right.
smarter
Yeah.
and a better arguer. I'm not arguing the rhetoric. What I'm saying is the criticism was that within
It's a simple point. I know they say that.
Well, because you didn't have a primary.
It's a simple point. They say nobody voted for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, how did she get to be vice president? She got all of the votes, and she ran with Joe Biden, and then she ran in the primaries, and then he stepped aside. They attack us for that because they don't understand democracy. Donald Trump cannot imagine walking away from power. He literally can't. And, you know, I stand contradicted if you think he can.
No, listen, I'm not here to make a case for Trump. I'm just saying I'm getting the criticism of the process the Democrats went through, because the only correction I have for you is you're right about everything you said, technically, but she didn't participate in any primaries because when Biden got out, then you figured a party solution, not a primary solution. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Which is what a political party is.
Absolutely.
In other words, she won a majority of the votes of the convention.
Yes.
I think she won unanimously at the convention. And you know there are lots of ambitious people in the Democratic Party who said she is the one. I mean, is there really something strange about a vice president running for president and getting the nomination in their party? That's basically how our system works, like Reagan and Bush, for example. Now, what's happened to the vice president on the other side? What happened to Mike Pence? Well, they wanted to hang Mike Pence, and then he suddenly disappears, and that's how J.D. Vance appears. Who voted for J.D. Vance in a single primary? Nobody. He's never gotten a single vote. J.D. Vance is the problem, not Kamala Harris.
I get the argument.
Where did he come from?
I get the argument, Congressman. I got to tell you, I can't wait for this to be over because I'm so desperate to get to something resembling governance, Congressman. I can't wait to have those conversations. I just hope that we don't have too much drama in between. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, but look, here's the good news, okay? There's an easy way to get rid of partisanship. You get rid of political parties, you get rid of the First Amendment. That's what Putin's got.
Not the First Amendment.
Orban's got.
Not the First Amendment.
Kim Jong-un.
The parties, hold on a second.
Trump's
hold on, you're the professor. Parties are not creatures of law. They're not in the Constitution. They're mere tradition. That was the Supreme Court's reckoning in the 70s about them. You can get rid of the parties and not affect the First Amendment. You could have more parties. You could open the primary structure. You could do a lot of things to release the grip of money from these two clubs. You could do a lot of things that wouldn't violate the First Amendment.
True. I agree with that, but you can't ban political parties.
No,
I'm
not saying to ban them. I'm not saying to ban them.
And we've had political parties from the beginning.
Yes.
Well, okay, and that's why I'm saying the way to get rid of partisanship is ban parties, but then you're banning freedom. So we've always had partisan disputation in America. Go back to Adams and Jefferson in 1800. They were saying vicious things about each other. Look at the stuff people said even about George Washington, our most popular president, who got 100% of the Electoral College vote, the last president to win the entire Electoral College vote, and people were calling him a hypocrite and a rascal.
I'm with you.
And so on. Like, that's a free society,
I
right?
get it.
We were conceived in insurgency against kings. We don't believe in kings and monarchs, but I am with you. We've got to be constitutional patriots. We've got to stand up for the magnificent experiment in democracy. Most people on earth have lived under dictators and thugs like Vladimir Putin and like Kim Jong-un. That's the way most people have lived for all time. And that's why people like Liz Cheney are so important to listen to in this campaign, because she says even though she agrees on a lot more policy issues with her former colleagues in the Republican Party, where she was head of the Republican conference, she says She is going to be with the Democrats because we're standing up for the Constitution and the whole system of democracy against people who would sell us out to dictators like Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban and Kim Jong-un and President Xi, who Donald Trump defended dozens of times in his mishandling of COVID-19.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you for the impassioned argument. You are always welcome here on NewsNation.
Thank you so much, Chris. Great being with you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.